lesson, we're going to look at negative numbers plus positive numbers, negative integers plus positive integers. And what I want you to see is if you start at a negative number, it doesn't really matter if it's negative or positive. If you add something to it, you're moving to the right. In this example, we have negative 3 plus 5. If we start at negative 3 and we add 5, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We end up at 2. But just like the last lesson, the sign of the answer is not always going to be positive. It could be negative. For example, if we started at negative 6 and we added 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we'd be at negative 1. So the point is, it's not always positive. The answer could also be negative. In this case, it is positive. But you may be asking, what's the shortcut? Well, there is actually a shortcut to this without having to draw the number line. Now, I've said this in previous lessons. I'm going to say it again. Always draw the number line until you're absolutely certain that you can use the shortcut and it works for you every time. Keep drawing the number line, and as you draw and draw and draw it, this shortcut will start to solidify. So you might be saying, what's the shortcut? Well, in math, okay, we've learned that, numbers, let's not use the word math, let's just say numbers. You can add any two numbers any order you'd like, and you get the same answer back. This is called the commutative property. So if I add negative 3 and 5, it's the same as if I switch them and add 5 and negative 3. I get the same answer back. And from the last lesson, we learned that when you add a negative number, it's the same as subtracting it, right? 5 plus negative 3 is the same as 5 minus 3. And look what happens on the number line. If I start at 5 and subtract 3, I get the same answer I got up here. I get 2 back, okay? I got 2 down there. I get 2 down here. Okay, so what's the quick trick? The trick is when adding a negative and a positive integer, just put the positive first and then subtract. In other words, we'll go back and look at this example again. In other words, what I could have done instead of negative 3 plus 5 is I could have seen that this is the same as 5 minus 3, which is a little bit easier, right? It gives me 2 back. It's not always easier. For example, if it was 1 minus 7, you might as well just do negative 7 plus 1, okay? Negative 7 plus 1 would just be doing 1. Negative 7 plus 1 would just give me negative 6, whereas 1 minus 7, you'd have to start 1 and subtract 7, okay? And you'd still get negative 6. But in many cases, at least for me, it's actually easier to switch them and just do a simple subtraction problem. So again, negative 3 plus 5 is the same as 5 minus negative 3. Okay, here's negative 3 plus 5. You switch them, becomes 5 plus negative 3, which becomes 5 minus 3. The general rule then for any two integers, and it also works for decimals or fractions, although this lesson is focused on integers, negative b plus a is the same as a minus b. Okay, another example would be negative 10 plus 7 is the same as 7 minus 10. Okay, negative 100 plus 99 is the same as 99 minus 100. Negative 5 plus 3 is the same as 3 minus 5. Negative 2 plus 7 is the same as 7 minus 2. That one's easier, of course. 7 minus 2 is 5. So the shortcut comes in handy many times, but again, I can't stress this enough. If it doesn't make sense to you, always use the number line, which we're going to do in the next few examples. So let's do this one together. Let's say we have negative 4 plus 9. Okay, so we're going to use the shortcut, but then I'm going to draw the number line. The shortcut then is to switch this, and it becomes 9 minus 4. And what is 9 minus... Well, actually, we'll do 9... We'll redo that one real quick. I just want to show you both steps here. It's the same as 9 plus negative 4, right? Which just becomes 9 minus 4. Now, hopefully, you're comfortable enough with subtraction to know that that gives you 5 back. So the answer is going to be 5. But again, if we draw the number line out, if you forget that rule, you can always do negative 4 plus 9 on the number line. Okay? Here's 0, and we're going to put the answer here. So negative 4 plus 9 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? I've said this so many times, I'm going to keep saying it. Always draw the number line if you forget the shortcut, okay? But the shortcut is easier by just switching these using the commutative property of addition and knowing that adding a number is the same as subtracting it. So Negative 4 plus 9 is the same as 9 minus 4, which gives you 5, which is the same answer you'd get if you drew the number line. All right, let's do another one. Let's say negative 9 plus 14. We're going to go straight into the shortcut. That's going to be the same as 14 minus 9. And some people might say, I know how some people think, they think visual. They might say, well, what happened to this plus sign right here? Well, if you want to, I've never argued as a math teacher. You can always put it there because it's still positive 14. I do not, in fact, I kind of encourage it for students who are more visual and who want to understand where things go. Sometimes we just do things in math and we don't explain it why, but it's still positive, so you can put it there. So what's 14 minus 9? Again, if you're good with subtraction, you should know that's 5. Did we get 5 for the last one? Yes, we did. 5 was the answer for that. Okay, so anyway, there's your answer. Just switch them and do one minus the other. Again, you can draw that on a number line. You're going to get the same exact answer. I will draw this one, but in the future ones, we'll just go straight to the shortcut. But start at negative 9. If you go 14 hops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you will end up at 5. And again, the equalizer, as they say, is 0. Okay, and that a lot of times helps me understand how all this stuff works. All right, let's do one, let's say negative 12 plus 1. All right, well, okay. This one's easier if you visualize the number line. I will do the shortcut, but here's negative 12. If you hop 1 to the right, okay, it's pretty obvious you're going to end up at negative 11. Okay, but the shortcut still works. If you switch negative 12 plus 1, it becomes 1 minus 12. All right, and you'd have to draw the number line again. You can already see that this one's actually going to be more complicated. You're starting at 1 here. Here's 0. And you're going back 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You can see this one's more complicated. So really, when should you use the shortcut? And I would say when the negative number, okay, just the number itself, 9, is smaller than the number you're adding, 14, it's easier to just reverse them and subtract. So you see how 9 is smaller than 14, so you might as well just do 14 minus 9, just like with this one. 4 is smaller than 9, so you might as well do 9 minus 4. However, with this one, 12 is bigger than 1, so it's almost easier just to draw the number line out. So again, I'm giving you 2 ways to do it, and I'm explaining kind of why you should do each way. But both ways work. I mean, it's not like they don't work. They only work in certain cases. They always work. All right, I'm going to do one more. We're going to do negative 13 plus, let's do 103. All right, if we switch these, let's use a different color here. If we switch these, then it becomes 103 minus 13. And again, you can always imagine there's a plus sign there. This one's definitely easier because now you can see we're subtracting. If you subtract 13, okay, you're basically subtracting 3 and then subtracting 10. So 103 minus 13, 103 minus 3 is 100, minus 10 more is 90. Therefore, the final answer is going to be 90. So there you have it. That's what happens when you take a negative number and add a positive one. As I said before, and as I'll say many, many, many times, whenever you're adding a number, you're always moving to the right on the number line. Your answer is going to be bigger, okay? Even if the answer is negative, if I start at negative 6 and add 2, I get negative 4, which is still bigger than negative 6 because it's to the right of the number line. So always draw the number line. Only use the shortcut when you're very comfortable with it and you understand conceptually why it works, okay? That's it for starting with a negative number and adding a positive one. If you have any other questions about this lesson, let me know.